Welcome everybody. This is the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call. This is with the Microsoft speakers. Typically, we'll come to the details again on this week on that one in a second. So every single Tuesday, 8 a.m. Pacific time, we have this call, and today is November 21st. My name is Juvonen. I'm a principal product manager in Microsoft 365 platform areas. Now, typically within this call, we have three Microsoft hosted demos, but this time we actually have a community demo as well. And I'll come to the details on that one in a second. We'll start with a typical set of recapping the news, a lot of news from Ignite. We're not going to go super detailed on what was happening within an Ignite because you probably have read some of those news. Well, we have referenced all of the news. I will put them in a chat so you're able to have a look on all of the great announcements in Ignite. We also will go through some of the assets which are available for you to get started, and then we'll have a group picture with the together mode. Hopefully crossing fingers that everything goes fine. This week we had some hiccups last week, but we did actually get a decent picture regardless, so we'll figure it out. And then we go to the real stars of today, who are Dan Wahlin, who's going to talk about using Microsoft Craft to retrieve files and chats and sending messages to teams, and this is in the context of AI and automation, which is the solution what he's been showing us within this large series. Then Waldek is going to show debugging API requests with Microsoft 365 Developer Proxy and Chrome DevTools, and that is a really cool setup. And I think that title has certain elements which we need to fix and update as well, so it's not quite up to date because the Developer Proxy name has been changed, and I'm sure that Waldek is going to recap on that change as we go to that section. And then we have Elliot Fraser is going to actually showcase his Power AI hack solution, which was the grand prize winner from the Power Platform AI hack stories. And these been absolutely brilliant solutions, really real-world storytelling, and absolutely brilliant implementations in many of the weeks in the past. So if you missed all of this in the past, you probably want to check some of the recordings, or we'll get the individual demos also published within the YouTube channel. Now, that reminded me on all of the awesome assets which we have available. So we do have a lot of assets available for you to get started across the different channels. So we have our YouTube channel where we publish all of the recordings, individual demo videos, and a lot of other content as well. So you cannot access the recording right after this call from the chat. That will be published within that YouTube channel within 24 hours, typically within 12 to 18 hours, but it depends on a day. We also have our LinkedIn group for discussions and updates where you can have a chat with other people, not just a one-sided communications. It's for you to share your findings as well. And we're hitting 1,000 group members on that one, which is a great number already. We also have a lot of assets in the community, in the GitHub, provided by Microsoft community. But as it might be a bit difficult to find the relevant sample for you, we then have these sample galleries, which are really targeted for making it easy to find the relevant Power App sample or Microsoft 365 sample, Microsoft Craft connector sample for you, what you're looking for to get started. A lot of URLs, everything you can find from AKMS community/home. Now, we do have a lot of community calls and a bit of a warning on the upcoming holiday season. So this Tuesday call will have a break starting, I think it's on 22nd. Now I'm actually saying some wrong dates. We will be 2 weeks on break with this particular call on 26th and 2nd of 26th of December and 2nd of January calls will not happen. We'll probably still be online and telling everybody that this call is not happening, but we'll be back online on 9th of January over there. And 19th of December call is actually happening. So it will be always only 2 weeks away from this call. Power Platform Office add-ins calls are happening on a monthly basis, and they will be executed normally in December. Also, including our Thursday series is happening every single Thursday throughout the holiday season, throughout the vacation season. We'll be there regardless of the time and a year and a week. And that's either the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform community call or the Viva Connection SharePoint Framework call. Every single Tuesday, 7 a.m. Thursday, 7 a.m. Pacific time. Now, I will double check. I can hear some background noises. I think somebody's helping a bit on those. Let me click a mute button, and we'll move forward. On these calls, a lot of the call demos are actually presented by the community members. And this is a great way for you to gain visibility and test out your presentation skills and showcase what you built. And we do welcome anybody within the community to do this. You only need to sign up for the forum, and then we'll contact you and we'll have a discussion what are you planning to show and get you scheduled in the right call. We did promote this in a social media actually yesterday and immediately got 10 more people signing up, which is awesome. We will get you scheduled, and we want you to showcase the art of possible within Power Platform and Microsoft Cloud and Microsoft 365 within this course. That's a great way for everybody to learn as we're sharing our findings and learnings within the demos. We have Microsoft 365 Developer Program, easiest way to get your free tenant, which will renew automatically in 90 days as long as you use it for developer usage, and then a lot of assets in the Microsoft Learn to get started on any topic within Microsoft 365 on Power Platform. We also have our podcast and video blogging and all of that available in multiple different locations. Just yesterday, Mondays at Microsoft was with Karan and Heather talking about the latest in Ignite, and also we released the PMP Weekly this week as well, and that was with Reshmi Akluk, and she's a SharePoint developer who's working now in the SharePoint Online, Microsoft 365, and in Power Platform. A really nice discussion about her journey within the community. I did mention the samples, and we have a lot of them. We have 1,760 samples, and actually 66, if I remember correctly, directly the latest number from today, in this one centralized location. So really trying to make it easy for you to find the relevant sample for you. You can either filter based on the product name, you can choose a text box, and you can find the samples provided by Microsoft or by the community. And this is a great location for you to get started. So don't start from scratch. If you're looking into like, I need to build something, I want to build something, what could I build? Go in here, have a look, get some inspiration. Maybe you get an idea out of the other samples which are available. I want to use that one. If I combine them, I will make something magical. And that's the whole idea of the sample gallery. Now, as you find the sample, you might be wondering on how on earth I would actually use the sample. And I will just do a final double checking. David is not in the call. He is not in the call, unfortunately. That's good. He's staying he's actually traveling, so he couldn't actually make the call. But if you're wondering on how to get started within a community, or how do you get started in a GitHub, or how do you start writing in the web, or how do you do your first Power Platform sample contribution, we do have our Sharing is Caring initiative. And this is again starting up properly after the conference season is now completed. So we're starting to schedule those slots in place. And I think we have some events already scheduled and available. If you go to the AKMS Sharing is Caring URL, sign up form, you will get an invite on the actual events to learn how to get started in many of these other areas or these areas within the Microsoft Cloud. As you then get started and you contribute, we want to and contribute, we actually want to award you. And that's where we use our Sharing is Caring badges and the Microsoft 365 Power Platform badges, and there is a lot of them. I think we have 68 different badges already available, depending on a year, depending on an event, and depending on the season. There's a different set of badges which are valid to get to. Right now, you're able to get the slice of samples or season of getting badges on top of the basic contribution badges and all of that. And these are actually badges coming from the Credly system. So they are coming from the same Credly system, which you can get other badges as well, which are certified from there. It's a great way of getting recognized for your contribution for the community. You don't need to sign up from AKMS/community/recognition. So we know who you are, and we can verify that you actually contributed. So we're not giving this free for everybody. We give them free for those who contributed on the community areas. Please do that. A really, really great way of getting recognized. Quickly on the events, we do have ESBC starting up or coming up next week. So European SharePoint Conference, where we talk about Azure, Microsoft 365 Power Platform topics, a lot of topics being covered by Microsoft and MVPs and community members. So great way of getting closely involved and meeting people in person. In November in Amsterdam, it's not actually too bad. It's definitely better weather than in Helsinki, where I'm based on currently talking. So definitely worthwhile of traveling there. Now, we also have the Microsoft 365 conference coming up. This is in sunny Orlando this time. So that's coming up in April 13th, May 1st and 2nd. And then there are pre-workshops and post-workshops available as well. great opportunity hearing the latest around the AI and how it's going to disrupt and change and modernize the work and the day-to-day business what we're doing. So there's going to be a lot of AI sessions, a lot of other sessions within the conference as well. And of course, we're meeting other community members, hopefully in Orlando, so if you can make it. Now, there's also the 365 EduCon conferences coming up 2024, so Seattle, DC, and Dallas. If you cannot travel across the pond on European SharePoint conference or Seattle, hopefully these dates are more suitable. And then there's a lot of events happening throughout the world. So if you go to the communitydays.org, you can see a lot of individual events where you can go. Some of these are free. Some of them might have a small cost associated to them. Some of them are virtual. Many of them are nowadays in person. So please do check them out. If you find an event which is happening close to you, and drop by. Meet people, have a discussion, learn and share what you learned around the Microsoft 365 and Power Platform. Now, that's a lot of me talking. A few more things. We did have a lot of news coming from Ignite last week. I'm not going to, as mentioned, go through all of this at all, but I will paste in all of the links in the chat so that you're able to access them if you're interested on what checking any of them more detailed. But this is basically a great list of all of the individual Ignite announcements coming from last week. Ignite was the conference which happened in Seattle, where we announced a lot of great innovations in AI across Microsoft 365 and Power Platform, and a lot of other areas in Teams Premium, in SharePoint Premium, in Power Platform, Power Apps, G8 stuff, and all of that. So a lot of great innovation there. Just today, I need to call out Accelerate Copilot extensibility and Power Apps creation with Microsoft Dataverse was a great thing. But the second one on the middle around Power Apps accelerates the shift towards modern AI-infused apps with governance and scale. Just today, even though I'm actually from the Microsoft 365 side, I was looking into that article, and there was a lot of interesting scenarios which are coming enabled in the Power Platforms world and Power Apps world, what we're looking into then potentially do in other areas as well. So a lot of excitement features over there. Good. Before we go to the actual demos of and stars and demos of today, we'll recap quickly all of the latest announcements on the Teams platform documentation. And this time we have Vachit on the call to cover that.
Hello, everyone. So I'm going to share an update on the Copilot extensibility. Microsoft Copilot for Microsoft 365 is powered by an advanced processing and orchestration engine. Integrates Microsoft 365 apps, Microsoft Graph, and large language model to transform your words into potent productivity tool. A plugin allows Copilot for Microsoft 365 to interact directly with the third-party data, apps, and services to enhance its capabilities and broaden its range of capabilities. All bot-based search message extensions are now eligible for plugin support, subject to validation to ensure the plugin meets quality, security, privacy, and usefulness expectations. So we have added all the detailed guidelines in the documentation. You can now create a bot-based search message extension using Teams Toolkit for Visual Studio Code, Visual Studio, or CLI, and extend the message extension to function as plugin in Copilot for Microsoft 365. So please give it a try. If you have any feedback or suggestion, please post it on aka.ms Teams platform feedback. The link is available in the footer. You could also configure to the RSS feed to get the regular platform updates. Thank you. Back to you, Vesa.
Excellent. Thank you, Vachit, on that one. Really cool to see this live, and more companies and will definitely get access on Microsoft 365 Copilot sooner or later. So we have all of the tooling and samples and solutions available for you to take advantage as well. Awesome. And I love the fact that it's so easy to create this using the Teams toolkit. Now, before we go to the actual stars of today, let's do a quick crew photo. I can already see that Together mode is working decently, and we're not pixelated today, so this is really good. I'm not going to enable my camera, so we have 50 seats in the room. I don't want to ruin the pixelation because that might actually happen. I can see Waldek in front and Vachit there as well. Kevin McDonald, yes, all right. Yeah, put your hand up as well. That was an interesting reaction. I love the hat, by the way. Is that a Copilot? But there is already a Copilot, so are you the pilot then? if there's a co-pilot from Microsoft. Good. 50 seats in a room, a few more seats. We're not recording yet. Brian is on back row and smiling, and I can see that from your eyes. There we go. There's the smile, and Todd is waving his hand. A few more seats. We're not yet recording. It's a lot of familiar faces as well. Can see there. Let me put the recording on. Yes, I think that's it. That's the limit, and let me record. So we get a nice GIF animation out of this, and we can share that in social media. Awesome to see you there, and I can see the wave in the front row. That is Florida's, and really cool. Awesome. Excellent. That's a great GIF animation capture, and that's it for now. So let me actually get moving away from there. Thanks everybody for joining. That went really well. Awesome to see that no pixelation this time, so we were able to capture a nice looking GIF animation from there. But then let's actually move forward, and let's then go in here, and I'm watching the list of people. I do not see Dan on the call, which is a bit of an interesting situation. Maybe we should then start, Waldek, from you. I will ping Dan to double check on the situation. So I was unable to do as. Oh, there's Dan. Sorry, I had no idea what happened.
I didn't see you. But my mic was disabled, so
wow.
I'm like, I'm here.
Yes. The list was not showing you. That was weird. That's good.
Yeah,
good.
No, I actually got dropped when we did the picture. It kicked me out, and then I had to I'm like, oh no, gotta join. So anyway, cool. Such is life, right?
Exactly.
Well, folks, it is great to be back. We are I think we're on session number 11 now. So we have actually next week is the last one. But for those that haven't attended any of these, my name is Dan Wahlin. I'm with our Cloud Advocacy Group. And we've been talking about, over the last 10 sessions, different ways to take your line of business apps to the next level. And the three main pillars, which we're going to see in a moment, are generally AI, communications, and then organizational data. And we're now in the organizational data aspect. So we're going to talk today about retrieving files, chats, and even sending messages into Teams. So with that, if you haven't joined any of the other sessions, all of these have been recorded. So we did around 5 on Azure OpenAI and how we can do prompts and all that fun stuff to actually help your users be more productive and more creative. I'll show you an example of that really quickly. We talked about how we can make even phone calls directly from the app or send SMS or email messages using Azure Communication Services. And then now we're here. We're in the bring organizational data into your apps, which I'll be honest, I ran a consulting company for 20 years. And this wasn't an area we focused on, and I regret it. We should have done a lot more in this area because it's a huge opportunity to take your apps to the next level by avoiding all those context shifts that we do and our users do. So we'll talk about files and chats today, and then next week we'll get into, to wrap up, emails and calendar events. So for those that haven't seen this, and those that have, my apologies, because you've seen it like 10 times if you come every week. And if you do, more power to you because you're learning more. But real quick overview. So this has, again, AI, communication, and organizational data features. As an example, I can chat against my own data. So this would be an example of using Azure OpenAI and what the artist formerly known as Cognitive Search. It's now Azure AI Search. But here's an example of that where I have some documents, and then we're just using OpenAI models to actually talk to those documents, if you will, to find what's in those documents. We also have communication features. So we could make calls. This would actually call me right now. That's not my number, but it's hard-coded temporarily. Or we could send email messages, but we could actually do those using AI if we needed to. So an example I showed is, order is delayed, certain number of days or whatever you want. And then this would go out to Azure OpenAI and actually generate email and SMS messages. And then you can use ACS, Azure Communication Services, to send those. Okay, so that's kind of what we've covered in the past. Now, the last couple sessions, we talked about organizational data. So we talked about how we could use MGT, Microsoft Graph Toolkit, to log a user in and out. We talked about Microsoft Intra ID, how to set that up and register your app. But now what we're going to talk about is some of the files and the Teams chats. Now, you'll notice this one has a couple files. So what did that, did I write all that? What happened here? Well, originally, yes, I did write all this about, it would have been beginning of the year about that is when I started putting this together. But if we were to right click on this and inspect, go to the developer tools. Let me scroll up here a little bit. Let's make that a little bigger for you. There we go. You'll notice shadow root right here. Okay, now that's a pretty good indicator that we might have a web component. But let's go up a little bit more, and there we go. Notice app files up here. And then I have some other stuff that I did. Well, right below app files is MGT search results. Now, if you haven't used this one yet, it's pretty amazing if you're making Microsoft Graph calls. Now, I'll show you the code because it's very simple here in a moment, but I didn't do any of this. Now, I could certainly override the template. I'm kind of zoomed in super big here, so it's wrapping a little bit weird, but I could totally take over control of this if I needed to. But I kind of liked what they output, to be honest. Let me go to a different company here. Let's go to Tailwind Traders because I know they have not only files, but also some Teams chats. Okay, so here's an example of an Excel spreadsheet now this time and a Word doc. And then, of course, the user can click on that. But it was a minimal amount of code to make this happen once the user's logged in, of course. Now, the other thing is this right here. Notice I can actually go to these chats. Now, I'm not going to open up Teams here. I could actually log into my tenant and show you. But what I want to show you is that, again, we can output the, in this case, title of the chats. And then we could actually view those. And if I don't want to tempt fate here because I think it's going to open my regular Teams, but we could actually view that message. Now, you'll also notice I can send a message into Teams. All right, pretty cool there. So I could say, Tailwind Traders order has been closed or whatever. And then when I send it, that's actually going to use Microsoft Graph to send into a Teams channel, in this case, a fake kind of sales channel that I have. So lots of opportunity here to help the user stay right where they're at and not have to jump out to other areas. And, although this isn't anything to do with Copilot, this is also a benefit I think that the Copilot options that are coming out bring to the table is you just do what you need to do in the app you're already working in, and then they can go get the data for you so you don't have to switch context so much. Beautiful thing. All right. So to do this, what would be the process? Well, the first thing I want to show you is actually right here. And we looked at this last week for those that were here. We talked about the login control. So there's an MGT login. And to get started with these, you literally just install Microsoft MGT package. It's super, super easy to get started. And because these are web components, they're going to work in... I'm hearing somebody there in the background. There we go. What's really nice about these is that means because they're web components, you could use them in a React app, a Vue app, an Angular app. They're web components. They work pretty much anywhere the web works, which is really, really nice. Now, we looked at this one last time, and that's actually what's driving right here. Okay, but there's a new one. There's actually two new ones down here. MGT search box, which I'm not going to go into, but it does kind of what you'd think. It provides a search box. But the one I'm going to show is this one, search results. And what I'm going to do is kind of compare and contrast. Here's what I would have done if I would have written all the code using just typical Microsoft Graph API calls. Here's what I do if I use MGT search results. And, well, I'm kind of giving it away because this is what I did right here. And you can see that it's very similar to what you saw in the demo app down here. Really, really nice if you haven't played with it yet. So let me jump on over to the code kind of for the rest of this. And what I want to do is jump into a Graph Service TS file. Now, this is just a client-side file that makes some graph calls, but I want to jump down to the search files. You'll see that right here. Now, what the search files does is not super advanced or anything like that. I set up what I want to do. So I want to query for drive items. So this is OneDrive for Business query. And then the type of query I want to do is going to be whatever the user typed, followed by and content type document. I only want documents out of this. So I set up this little object literal. I called it filter. And then we call into the graph client. Okay, and you'll see that call right here. I'm calling search/query, and I'm posting that filter object. Now, not too bad, right? I mean, it's just a little bit of code, but I'll show you how this gets cleaned up, and we'll dive in some other examples next week as well. Now, from there, though, I do need to go through and extract out what I want. Now, there's multiple ways you could handle this. I tend to go with the most easy way when there's a tutorial around this, so I try to stick with something pretty standard. But you'll notice I'm going in to find all the hits, and then I just push those into a custom array I called files. Okay, now that is how things started. That was like before. Now let's look at after. So let me come on down into a files component. And that is after. All right, pretty nice. Now, there's the MGT search results web component from the Microsoft Graph Toolkit. I have a custom class on it. Notice I only want the entity types drive item. Well, that should ring a bell because what we just cover here, entity types drive item. I just don't have to write the code now, which is really, really nice. What is the query? And by query string, we mean what's the query? Okay, so it's some search text, but query string is the property. If you're not familiar with the square brackets, don't worry about that. That's an Angular thing, but I'm data binding to this search text. And then when things change, when we start getting data in things, I might want to know. So I could actually have a callback function. In this case, I called it data change. Now, I'm not doing much with that one at this point, but next week, I'll show you how we could completely override the templates by handling this. And it's actually really, really clean and a great way to do it. But we'll talk about that. I got to have some reason for you to listen next week, right? Okay, so that's pretty cool, right? Now, when it comes to this, though, all right, if we go back and we run this one, and you'll see I have some Teams chats here. Now, that one, yeah, there are some things you could do there with MGT search results, but I did need to customize that one. So for this one, if we jump on down here, you'll see search chat messages. Now, this starts out very, very similar. Entity type, chat message. Okay. And then query is just whatever the user typed. And then I'm going to say what I want to grab, how many I want to grab here. Now, that looks pretty similar to what you would do even with searching files. You'll notice I then call the Graph Client API. I call the same exact search query, and I post it. So everything up to this point is kind of identical. Where this gets a little tricky, though, is I need to extract out some data, such as the team ID, channel ID, message ID summary, because I want to get very specific information out. So notice I'm going to push that into a chat IDs, and then I'm going to retrieve the actual messages themselves. Okay, and you'll notice I'm going to go get the message and call the get function. Now, there's a lot of code I'm throwing at you. This is all be in the tutorial, so if you're interested, you can check this out. Now, for this one, using the MGT search results wasn't quite as feasible, just because I need to trick it out a little bit. I need to customize it. So in this case, yeah, it's just using code. And then what I end up with is messages. And you'll see those right here. So I get, the ID, the team ID, the channel, the summary, all these fun things. That's actually what's showing up right here. And again, there's always different approaches you can take with this. This is just one that I'm showing you. But what I wanted to highlight here is that if you've never used the MGT search results before, just because you're using that and going down that road, of course, doesn't mean you can't just hop out of that and do your own thing. There are some cases where, yeah, it's not going to cover exactly what you want, so you do your own thing. No big deal. All right, now the last thing I want to show you here is the send. So recall that I can actually come in and I could say new and then, type some message here. There's my favorite Anyone else do test data like this? That's my favorite test data right there. And then I could send that into a channel, and it does work here. To do that's actually pretty straightforward. We can use, again, a graph call. We could give it the team ID and the channel ID. So notice I'm going into some team ID channels, channel ID messages. Now imagine that you had like a sales channel, and maybe it has like a sales team with a channel called sales, let's say. And now you want to send into that directly from any app. Well, we can do that, of course. So first off, I have the URL here. I have the body of what I want to send. I'm going to send HTML. Content is the message the user would have typed. And then we use this graph client again to go ahead and post that up to this API in Microsoft Graph. And then I get response, and I can go ahead and return that. And that's all I had to do to enable this type of functionality. Not super involved. In fact, it's from 159 to 178. So I don't know, 20-ish lines of code, something like that. But that's what we could do to actually handle sending into teams. And you may say, I don't really need this, Dan. And that may be. What I'm going to offer, though, is take some time to sit back and analyze what are some things we could do to just get that data we know we already have out there in our organization and bring it directly into the app so that the user doesn't have to switch context. Now, that could be some of this AI stuff I showed. It could be the organizational data. I mean, there's lots of scenarios. I think we get so focused as developers. I'm going to kind of go on my soapbox here on, I got to make the API calls and the database and the graph calls and whatever it is you're doing, that I kind of wonder sometimes, when's the last time we took a step back and said, hey, if I'm the end user, what would I find really useful? What would be super productive, make me more efficient, all those things. So with that, I hope that gives you an idea about what you can do with the MGT search results, as well as you can always jump out to graph calls, of course. So if you are interested, I'll give you a scan code here in a moment, but this is where we are right there in the tutorial. This will walk you through everything I just did. I do want to give you one little bonus thing that we announced at Ignite. So if you are interested in the adopt, extend, and building of copilots, we have a new doc, and I'll show you a link here where you can get to that. So the scan code here will get you to the tutorial again. This bottom one, aka.ms Microsoft Copilots, and I'll put this in the chat for you. This will get you to some brand new Copilot documentation. I know Waldek's coming up. He contributed to quite a bit of that, especially the samples. So with that, I'm like a minute over. So sorry, Vesa, but let's go ahead and turn it back over to you.
No worries. Thank you, Dan. Really, really awesome. And looking forward to the last episode next week. Unfortunately, why is the last one? No. Well, we'll definitely get more done on next calendar year when time is right. But Waldek, you are in the call.
Perfect. Let me know when you can see my screen. Should be coming.
We can see you
near you.
Yep.
Perfect.
We can see your screen.
And it's the most exciting screen ever, right? It's the desktop and a terminal. What else do you need in life?
Yes.
All right, perfect. All right, let me show you a thing. We're building apps, at least devs among us, and even non-devs among us, we build apps. And the way we build apps is that we connect to APIs. APIs are the way we get data, we perform actions, we call out to external apps out there, and we communicate with them through APIs. And the cool thing about API is that they are turnkey. They allow us to save a lot of time because we get to use them to connect to something that's already out there and already work and bring that into our app. So APIs speed up building apps a lot. And there are APIs that we own, that we build ourselves to kind of allow that the way to communicate with other things. But there are also a lot of APIs in the cloud, right? Like think about Open AI APIs, weather APIs, stock APIs, or even basically your line of business apps that you use in work also have APIs. And these are APIs we don't own, right? So typically when we build apps, what do? Well, you build the apps, you test it, and it kind of works. The problem is, though, what do you do when those APIs that you don't own break? Because that's really the hard thing. Like, we build apps in the cloud, and at times they break. And the hard part about that is that you cannot test it. Well, after all, you don't own these APIs. So it's not like you can call us or somebody else like, hey, guys, can you please break your APIs because I want to test how my app is going to handle when it breaks for real? Like, you cannot do that. So in a way, what do? We kind of test our app, we see if it works, and then we kind of stick our head in the sand because we cannot do like we're helpless. We cannot forcefully break cloud APIs. There's just no way to do it. Is there though? A while back, we kind of thought about it as like, well, I mean, that has to be a better way. Like, we build more and more and more apps connected to APIs. We have to have a better answer for all devs across the world. And that is exactly why we built this tool named Proxy. And Vesa, you mentioned already a new name. Like, originally, it would start as a app that allows you to simulate errors on Microsoft Graph. Then it was like, well, Graph isn't the only thing that people use because there are SharePoint APIs, there are other APIs. So we kind of expanded to Microsoft 365, right? So that was kind of our space. But then we was like, you know what? There are even more APIs than that. There are OpenAI APIs, GitHub APIs. There are APIs that allow you to send emails, SMS, and whatever. So with that, we said, like, you know what? Let's just call the thing Dev Proxy, and that is kind of the tool that allows you to simulate behavior on any API in the world. The way it works, it is a command line tool. Think about like, Fiddler or Proxyman or any other proxy that runs on your box and then intercepts the calls going out of your app. So it runs now on my box. Let me do a simple call to Microsoft Graph and see if I will be able to simulate error, right? So now I'm going to call the me endpoint on Microsoft Graph, and I want to have that call to go through proxy, right? So that works. Okay, it passed through. I want it to fail. So that's kind of the interesting thing about when you do a chaos test. You never know what you get, which makes demos exciting. Okay, there you go. I got a 429, too many calls to me. Was it an actual error? No, it even says so. Some error was generated by proxy. So with that simple tool, I can easily simulate error on Microsoft Graph without affecting Graph. Graph works just fine, just not on my box. On my box, I can break it, and I can test every single edge case in my app to see how my app is going to react should, in the case of emergency, Microsoft Graph break. Anyway, so this is cool. This works. What's cool about this is that I can do all kinds of tests, and I also get, I can simulate behaviors. I get the guidance. There is one thing, though. We are in terminal, and it's pretty small, right? So if I do this call, and I will do another call, like, it gets a lot. You haven't seen anything yet, right? So let me show you how that would work on sample app. So I've got here a web app, and this is just like, a simple app that's going to show me a list of users that I've got, and then for each one, their image. I don't want to do this one. Let me start Google Chrome attached to proxy, because if I would intercept all traffic from this box through the dev proxy, I would drop off this call. So that's not something that I want to do live right now. All right, so this is the web app that I've got. Let me switch to proxy here so that we can actually see that it's working. You will see it here. And then I will load the version of the app without the SDK, log in. I don't want to change anything. And now you can see something's happening. So that was one error here. Let me reload it a little. There you go. So we have all these requests. Let's get back to the window that I've got and look at the output. So now we have all this info about all these calls that we ran, and it's hard. It's really hard to find. It's like looking for a needle in a haystack, trying to find the right info that you need, right? That is hard. And at some point we said, so again, we have to have a better answer to it, because like people will use it not to do, simulate single call in curl and that works. People will use it with their apps, and their apps do a lot of calls to Graph because Graph allows you to do so many things, right? And people use Graph a lot. We know that. So we need to have a better way for people to be able to inspect the calls that they issue from their apps. So we thought about, hey, all devs across the world use the DevTools in Chrome, right? So basically that thing when you press F12 or Command Option I on a Mac, and basically these things, right? So you can inspect your calls here, right? And when you basically reload this app, you will see all these codes here. One caveat is though, this works only for a web app. What if you don't build a web app? What if you build a backend process or API or something else? You don't have that. So how could we use that? Like, is there a way for us to maybe use that as interface for dev proxy so that you can inspect your basically the output that you get from us? Let's have a look at that. So let me stop proxy. Let me go to proxies config. And let me do a small adjustment. Let me enable something that we have built. So now I am, because I build proxy, I've got all of the code here. But the one thing that I'm interested in is a proxies config file, which is here in dev proxy rc JSON. And in here, let me enable this new plugin that we currently shipped in the latest preview. Let me enable it. Let me set it to true. And then if I go to the DevTools plugin config section, let me change to Edge Dev because I use that Edge Dev. I love it when things break, so I just go for like all the way. So let me do that. Oh, I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do something else. Let me hold on a moment. Bear with me. Let me quit that thing because I almost quit my browser, but not totally, and that would break me. All right, let's get quickly back to our config file just to double check that we've got everything okay. So we've got Edge Dev enabled. We've got the DevTools enabled. Let me close this one. We don't need it. Let me restart proxy, and then a thing is going to happen. 3, 2, 1. Proxy starts. Come on. 3, 2, 1. You can do this. All right. We've got a thing here that says DevTools available at the yada 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 this URL. If I move this window back, what do you see here? You see a full screen Microsoft Edge Dev with Chrome DevTools enabled, but they're empty and there's no browser window in here. It's just full screen DevTools, right? That's weird. All right, let me reload our app. What's going to happen? There you go. There is so what do we see now? If we look back at dev proxy, we'll still get all of the output here, but we also get it here. So here we've got all of the requests that dev proxy intercepted from our app. And for each one, we can open it. We can see all of the headers that were sent, request headers, response that we got back. We can get the response that we got as JSON, as raw text. We can see all of that. What's more, if you go here to console, we see all the messages that were otherwise crammed in here in the small terminal window in plain text as objects. And in here, we can do what? We can do the things that we do in Chrome DevTools all the time. So we can filter the levels. We can find things. So we can look for 429s. We can even, and the cool thing is even from here, you can click the icon here, and you can go back to the actual call that failed. So you can more easily go back and forth, examine the data, and see all of the output that you've got. And these are, there is no output because there's 429 on a binary call, so there is no response there. But you can basically examine all of that, and that is really, really cool because that allows you to have a richer user experience around that, debugging your apps. And again, this is really cool because this is not only for a web app. This is Chrome DevTools for any type of app you build. Mobile app, serverless app, daemon processes, PowerShell scripts, whatever you build, whatever proxy will intercept, you will see this here. And that is really, really cool because it allows you to, again, simulate behavior on any API in the world and have that very rich experience in DevTools. So you are no longer bound to text only, which we had in 1960s, 70s, and so forth and so on. So with that, I would really encourage you to give this a try. Go to aka.ms/devproxy, aka.ms/devproxy. Check it out. Enable plugin. Give it a try. Test it. And we love to hear from you what you think. If it works already, great. If there is room for improvement, do let us know. Thank you. Vesa, back to you.
Excellent. Thank you, Waldek, on that one. Really, really cool. And I love that integration. And I love the whole tool because it is actually incredibly powerful for mimicking those problematic situations. Now, from a timing perspective, we are hitting Q2 next hour, and Elliot is ready to go. If we go a few minutes long today, it's okay, but let's try to keep on the schedules. Elliot, I can see your video. That's looking sharp and good. There's the audio, awesome, and we can see the screen. Excellent. Take it away.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm Elliot Fraser, and I'm going to be showing you the Teaching Accelerator today. This was my submission to the Power Platform Global AI Hack, and if you're not familiar with this, this was a hackathon from Microsoft, and the rules for this were fairly broad. All we needed to do was create something to do with Power Platform that incorporated AI in some way, and hopefully makes a positive impact on someone. So I decided to focus on teaching, and this was my problem statement. So teachers around the world are spending thousands of hours per year planning their lessons for students. Can we accelerate this with AI? So my inspiration for this was thinking back to all my friends, a lot of my friends are teachers, and I kind of am amazed at how much time they spend outside of their actual teaching hours and working hours, planning lessons and marking homework and doing all of these tasks that we've not been able to we've not been able to automate before. But now that we've got generative AI, this is becoming easier, and hopefully this is going to kind of speed up the process for teachers when they're planning lessons. I think we worked out. So me and my friend, we were talking it through, and he kind of worked out that he spends about 600 hours per year planning lessons just for a single subject. So if we think about this over like a whole school of teachers, we're talking about thousands of hours here that could be saved if we can leverage this new AI capabilities. I also saw this blog post by OpenAI, and this was all about how teachers are already leveraging AI in the classroom, and I kind of used some of their prompts in my solution here. So it's a good blog to go check out if you're interested in doing something similar to this. So the components I used were a model-driven app, several custom pages, Power Virtual Agents, which I guess is Copilot now, Power Automate Flows, and of course the OpenAI ChatGPT API. Of course, I could have used the Azure OpenAI API as well. Okay, so that's it. Let's just jump straight into the demo here. So yeah, this is my model-driven app. I always like to add some custom pages in there, especially for the homepage. I feel like some people don't think model-driven apps look that great. I think custom pages can just make them look a little bit more polished and a little bit nicer. So this is a kind of homepage, and we've only got a few bits of functionality in here at the moment. We can create lessons, or we can create curriculums of lessons. So let's go and create one of those first. So this will take us to the curriculum form. So if I just give this a name for now, and I pick an age group. So I'm going to pick year 7 and a subject, biology. For now, I'm going to save this, and then I've got a subgrid under here where I can add all my lessons. But for this demo, I'm going to ask GPT to help us. So I'm going to click this custom button here, and it's going to open another custom page. And this one's got a Copilot embedded into it. So this is essentially the Copilot experience for teachers. Now we'll see how far we get with this demo. I was trying this earlier, and the API was being really slow. So yeah, I've got a pre-recorded bit if we need to go to that. But first off, the bot is just welcoming us back, saying, please wait a few seconds while I gather the information. So what we're doing here is we're grabbing the information that we already have about this curriculum. So I've already added the age group and the subject, and we're kind of pre-prompting this Copilot with that information, so I don't need to add it again. And we can see that here. It says, I understand that you need some help planning your curriculum for on biology for students ages 11 to 12. That's year 7, if you don't know, in the UK. How many lessons would you like this curriculum to contain? So I'm just going to say like maybe 6 for now. And then just wait for it to ask the next question. All of this is just going out to OpenAI and coming back into this conversation. So none of this is pre-laid out like you typically build a virtual agent. It's all going through one fallback topic and going out to OpenAI and then coming back. So is there a specific area we would like to focus on? I'm going to say like plant biology. It's going to ask a few more questions. Any specific lessons or learning objectives? I'm going to say you decide, but include. Okay, you decide, but include at least one on photosynthesis. So as you can see, you can start to kind of make your lessons more bespoke the longer you talk with this. So I'll say that sounds good. Please generate. Okay, and now when the bot believes that I'm kind of satisfied with the conversation and I'm ready for this to be generated into the app, it should now ask me if it should ask me to confirm that I want to save this into the app, and then you should see those records pop up in Dataverse. We'll just give it a few more seconds. There we go. So yeah, always good to have a confirmation just in case it decides to just try and create some records out of nowhere. I'm going to say yes. And again, wait a second or two, and then it should go off and populate these, and that's just a Power Automate flow in the background. So if I now close this record, we should see we've got six lessons have been created. At least one of those is Introduction to Photosynthesis, all kind of done through a chat-like interface rather than having to do them individually myself. So that's one of the things you could do. I'm now going to go into the photosynthesis lesson. We can see we've got a lesson objective. It's also been added automatically. I'm now going to kind of repeat this process and create the actual lesson plan. So same thing's happening. I'm loading up the same Copilot, and I'm kind of pre-prompting this with the lesson title, the lesson objective, the age group, the subject, so that I don't need to repeat that information. And it's going to ask me some more questions. So it's asking, do they have any previous knowledge? I'm going to say no, it's new. Okay, and the next one it's asking me is there anything specific you want to include? Do you want to make it inclusive for those with learning disabilities? I'm going to just say yes, make it inclusive. Something like that, make it inclusive, include lots of visual aids. Obviously, I'm not a teacher, but if I had a class, I could make this, I could really tailor this to my class, give it more information. It's going to ask one more thing. Is there any other information you want to provide? I'll say, make sure it's 1 hour long. Something like that. I could say, like, make sure it's suitable for an online lecture, or I don't know, assign some homework on something specific, and it's pretty good at generating a good response. So again, we'll wait one more time. Sometimes it gives us a summary of the lesson. Sometimes it just goes ahead and creates it straight away. Let's see what it does now. And just while we're waiting for that one to respond, I'll actually show you. There we go. We've got a summary. include a system prompt. So if you've never used OpenAI before, we provide like a prompt, a system prompt for the bot so that it kind of understands how to behave. So I said you are a friendly, helpful teaching assistant bot, telling it to expect this information to be pre-prompted in, and then just some general steps on how on what sort of questions to ask. And that's what I took from the OpenAI blog. Okay, so I'm just going to say looks good. Please generate. So when it thinks I'm satisfied, it knows to go and run a function, which is how we get that information, get that data into a flow, and then can populate it in Dataverse. So again, just wait a couple seconds. It should ask me to confirm. I'm going to say yes. We wait 2 more seconds and then close this, and we should see, there we go, I've got our lesson plan there. Okay, so got a couple of minutes left just to finish off. I'll show you the AI settings. So as I said, we've got system prompts. So depending on where we launch this Copilot from, we might give it the lesson system prompt or the curriculum system message. And then also we've got functions, and this is how we kind of get reliable data into our Power Automate flows and can then create in Dataverse. So these are really good to understand. I think you can also do these with like Copilot plugins, which I haven't tried yet, but I am guessing this is kind of how they work behind the scenes. So you basically describe a schema that you're looking for, and then add some descriptions. So you can see here I'm creating a lesson, just describing what the lesson should be, a learning objective and a step-by-step lesson plan. And then the curriculum is just an array of lessons. And then it will actually be smart enough to just reproduce this JSON schema. And when it does that, I can then just reliably take that into my Power Automate and populate in Dataverse. And then lastly, we've got some parameters, so we can choose the different models. We can mess around with some of the other parameters as well. Cool. Yeah, that's it for the demo. Has anyone got any questions? Or back to you, Vesa.
I think it's easier to follow up on the questions if we have anything on a chat. Let's double checking. A lot of great feedback, obviously. April is super impressed. Is this using out-of-the-box Copilot, or is this Copilot PVA you created yourself? That's a good question.
Yes, I don't know what to call it anymore. PVA or Copilot, I think they're the same thing. So yeah, I created a virtual agent when it was called Virtual Agent, and inside of that, I can just show you really quickly. I don't want to get too in depth here. We have this fallback topic. So basically, anytime I type anything, it's going to funnel into this fallback topic, and we're just triggering this action here. And this, inside of this Power Automate flow, it's just going out to GPT every time, sending the message along with any chat history if I've already got it, and then returning that back into our chat. And if it's a function, it actually goes off and kind of executes that function in a different Automate flow.
That is really, really cool. That, by the way, was a really good example of a no-code, chart, right? So that's more for smiles and everything else. We always say that it's no-code, but then when you have a look on the PVA charts or Power Automate definitions, they start looking more like a visual code rather than no code. But anyway, so really, really impressive, absolutely brilliant implementation. A lot of good feedback on the chat, and I love the real world story telling as well. So it's a real world case to generate and using the AI to help the teachers as well. So awesome stuff. Cool. Thank you, Elliot, on that one. I will actually jump on and claim the screen, and we are right on the time. So we will go through and close up for today. So thank you, Dan. Thank you, Waldek. Thank you, Elliot. Awesome stuff. Great demos today. And next week, we'll definitely have demos as well coming up. So 1 second, whenever I can find on which screen my slide is. There we go. So before we go there, please take also advantage on our, why isn't my slide moving? Come on. 1 second. Let's double check. Here we go. Are we working now? There we go. Now, next week, we'll have Dan closing up on his multi-week show related on that AI-powered solution, which we saw today as well. And the next week, it's about using Microsoft Craft to retrieve emails and calendar events for your solution. So really useful scenario as well. Sebastian Levert is going to talk about introducing Microsoft Craft Toolkit chat components. And this is actually a really cool component, which you can also take advantage within your own custom solutions. Now, we also want to remind always on the Discord server, which you can take advantage. Earlier today, I double-checked that we are around 940 community members in here, helping each other actively in the Get Help channel as well, or Ask for Help. So both, of course, cross the topics of Microsoft 365 Power Platform, all of that being discussed here. And it's great to see that it's getting more and more excitement and engagement over there. We always are also looking for feedback around this course. So what works, what doesn't work, if you have ideas on the topics which we should be focused on, or any ideas on how we can improve the calls or anything around the community, that's definitely welcome. So please take advantage of that form, AKMS community calls feedback. Your input is definitely welcome. Now, this call will be was recorded and will be published in the YouTube channel in 24 hours. Typically, as said, it's around 18 hours or so. So tomorrow morning on my European time frame or end of the day in Pacific time zone, that the video will be available. The next call is in 28th of November, and then the next one is already in December. The time is going so fast, but please take advantage of the community calls. Go in the LinkedIn, go in the Discord. Let's stay together. And if there's any questions outside of these calls, those channels are there to help you to get unblocked. But thanks everybody for joining. One more time, thank you for all of the presenters of today. Awesome call, awesome demos. Thank you for the lively discussion also in the chat, and we'll be back within a week with this call. Thanks everybody.